angels waging war in the unseen realm. Global events fulfilling biblical prophecy. Eternal life. What lies beyond mortality? From analyzing the paranormal from a biblical worldview to the discussion of cutting-edge science and technology, conspiracy, discovery, special investigative reports. Unafraid to explore the challenging issues facing humanity. Welcome to another edition of Skywatch TV.
When is a video game not just a video game? When it's being used to lure young men and women into a life of prostitution. Welcome to Skywatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert. Joining me in studio, my wife, my best friend, Sharon K. Gilbert, and a guest for another powerful conversation. You may want to ask the children to leave the room during this conversation because some of the topics are a bit disturbing. She's the president and CEO of a ministry called millionkids.org. That's the website of the ministry as well. She's the outreach coordinator for the Riverside County, California Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force and the author of the book, Seduced: The Grooming of America's Teenagers. We welcome Opal Singleton back to Skywatch TV.
Thank you.
This was a surprise to me. I played video games a bit when I was younger. As I've gotten older, I know my tendency. I tend to get lost in them. Sharon can attest to that. 16 hours one day on one of my birthdays. It was, but I never have played one of these MMORPGs. What are they called? The massive
multiplayer online role-playing games.
Right.
Basically, in essence, it's a game that reaches out to literally thousands of people, and they have chat rooms. So in addition to playing the game, then you're engaging in conversation in a chat room.
Now, how could something like that, I mean, when you're engaged in trying to destroy the enemy in World of Warcraft or Special Ops or some of the really raunchy games like Grand Theft Auto, I mean,
yes.
I maybe I'm getting old. I can't see how this opens an opportunity for somebody to contact and begin grooming, the process of grooming a young person.
Sure. Well, let me first explain. First, let me clarify something. I'm not against gaming as long as it doesn't have a chat room. There are good things for games. It's how our kids are going to learn. They learn hand-eye coordination. They learn to make good strategy and decisions, quick decisions, and like that. So gaming is okay. What I'm very concerned about, and the reason I got involved in this book, is that I work in human trafficking. And so you see mostly girls that are violated, but when you begin to start to look at the guys, they're sex-extorted. In other words, they're blackmailed with a photo, or they're lured into a meetup with someone they normally would not meet up with. So as I began to realize just how often this is happening, and it's happening far more often even than a hardcore sex trafficking case, meaning where a child is put into prostitution. What is happening here, let me kind of first explain to your audience the difference between a game and going to a movie. You might go to a movie, you might even take your child to a movie that's violent and sexual, and you'll see it once or twice, but that happens to that character and you all go home. What happens in a game is you buy the game and you set up a Bitcoin account so that you are able to purchase, for instance, equipment and tattoos and whatever you want to buy for your avatar. So you create an avatar, you give it a name, and your success and failure is based on how that avatar does. So you're living vicariously, your kids are. And on top of that, score is right there all the time. If they're only a 40, nobody wants to play with them. So they gotta be a 50 or 60. If they're not good enough, then they're gonna use their Bitcoins to get a higher score. So then you enter into a world that's violent, and many of these are based on occult and sorcery. Many of these have animated pornography. And this is not like two people making love and with respect and caring. This literally is animated pornography. It can go from A to Z very quickly, and it does. And these kids get addicted to it, quite frankly.
Some of it's violent.
Some of it's violent, and you're mixing violence and sex, basically. I'll always remember Ted Bundy. He was a serial killer. Can't say that. But what was fascinating, he said, I'll always remember the day I married violence and sex. And he said, I was never the same. And that was, like a death row testimony that he gave. But we're marrying violence and sex, and then on top of it, and it's addicting sex for what it's worth, on top of it, we open the door to total strangers. You don't know who many of these people are. You have the guild and the guild manager, and what's crazy is the player needs the approval of that guild and that guild manager. And so what happens here is they literally can talk to your child and groom them and talk to them about all kinds of ideas. They talk about all kinds of things when they're playing these games, because as you said, they often play them for hours. And one of the biggest concerns is we're exposing our kids to unreal sex while they're going through puberty. And I do want to make a comment on that while we're talking, which we haven't discussed before, but one of the problems with that is they meet up with a predator and they get violated. Their first sexual experience is negative.
Yeah.
It's nothing, God glorifying, first of all. But second of all, they get caught at it. Then it's, give me that game. What are you doing? And their first exposure to this is shame-based. And so I would tell you, especially with a girl, I'll just tell you about a case I read that was fascinating. She was 12. She lived up north, I think, Michigan or somewhere. And mom bought her a game of Minecraft. Apparently, mom didn't know it had a chat room on it. The girl met a guy who was 25 down here in Texas. And so they began to exchange hardcore pornographic images. He said they were in love. He's 25, she's 12. Now, I don't know where mom was for a year and a half this went on. When she shut it off, the guy happened to show up at their house with a large knife, and he was going to do harm, and they arrested him, and they sent him to jail or prison. But I want you to think about this girl.
Yeah.
She'll never get a thrill out of holding a 13-year-old's hand down the street.
No.
And on top of it, her first sexual experience is one of dirty. Give me that. What are you doing? What are you thinking? Well, first of all, who bought her the game?
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you that both those people need counseling, the parents and the child, because if you don't help her, she'll be our next sex trafficking victim. 70% of girls, especially in sex trafficking, were previously sexually molested. Now, this girl wasn't touched to our knowledge, but she was processed for a year and a half with hardcore pornographic images. She needs counseling, and the family needs counseling, and then they need to be able to unite so she doesn't just grow up with, it's all my fault, I'm dirty kind of thinking. And so this is a serious issue. Now, back to guys. How this happens is because they're in there playing a game. And I want to do a kind of a side trip for your audience so they can appreciate just how big an issue this is. One of the things that's happening right now is that they are forming large-scale child pornography rings. And so what will happen is, if you think of the internet like a bucket of water, the top 75% is where you and I live. We have search engines like Google and Bing and Chrome. But that bottom 25%, think of that as the dark web. That's where ISIS lives, and drug cartels and money launderers, and that's where pedophiles live, child pornographers.
This is the part of the web you can't get to with your typical search engine.
That's right. It's called the Onion, the Tor router. And so what happens there is that these child pornography, these pedophiles used to kind of stay to themselves and get their dirt and do the thing they did. But now they're all connected in this dark web. They just recently found a child pornography ring that had 210,000 members. But the one that I was looking at before that had 27,000 members. Now, it takes a lot of material to keep these guys happy. One of the things those guys do is they scan through the regular internet, like Kik and even Snapchat and things like that. And so when a girl sends her photo off to a boy, a naked photo, they grab it and put it on a child porn ring. This is the reason why I educate kids in school. I want you to know, don't be sending that out to your boyfriend. Nobody ever said the internet was private.
Yeah.
In fact, if you ask most kids, is the internet private? No. I'm like, really? Then how come you're sending a naked photo?
You may as well walk around school like that.
Yeah, that's right. And they can get get intercepted, so you won't realize that your photo is out on a child porn ring. But back to the gaming thing, what happens there is that they start exchanging these like baseball cards, and they're well connected. Well, so let's say that you're a 13-year-old boy and you're playing a game of Black Ops or World of Warcraft, and you're shooting it up, and this girl comes into your life and says, hey, you know, and you start hitting it off, and you're like, wow, my lucky day, a girl who likes me, you know, on World of Warcraft.
You're kind of an introvert geek anyway,
yeah,
probably.
you know,
Yeah.
and you're going, yeah, and then she drops a photo on you, and the minute that you send one back, you know, you're dead. And I warn this to all the kids in school because they're just shopping. You're not the first person they ask. You know, they're looking for that easy mark, that sucker that's willing to send one back. The minute anybody, if you have young people in your audience listening, listen to this. The minute anybody ever asks you for a naked photo, they will send you one first. You don't even know if they know the person in the photo. They will imply it's them, and it's a game to get you to send one back. The minute you send one back, you're trapped. And so what happens in gaming is you send that photo back, and then it goes out on a large child porn ring, and they start to come after you. So that's how guys get trapped in it. But where it really goes wrong, in my opinion, is on Grand Theft Auto. And this is why I wrote my book, by the way. I will share with your audience, I never expected to be an author. Honestly, even the day I started writing the book, I didn't know I was going to write a book. I never felt... I always say God wrote that book and I typed it. We did it in 3 weeks, and it's sold a lot of copies, and it's a 5-star book. So I'm very excited about it. But what happened, and let me just share with you about Grand Theft Auto. It's an interesting thing. Grand Theft Auto has been around forever, and it's never been a beacon of morality. It's never been. You've always had sex with prostitutes. You've always killed cops, and you're not supposed to be on it if you're not 18. But I'm telling you, most of the kids in Southern California have this game, and I bet across the world. It's at 6 world records the first week, and it sold $1 billion worth in 3 days. So what happens in Grand Theft Auto this year is it has first-person experience software, so it's very vivid. And in the future, you're going to have virtual reality pornography on it. But so what happens is that you get involved, and you actually have sex with a prostitute, and then you kill her to get your money back. So I was teaching at a school or giving an assembly, and there were 450 kids, and 375 of them had it. And so I asked them, I said, did you have sex with a prostitute? Who had the, you're paying real money. This is not just a game.
So that's the thing. You actually have to put real money into the game in order to achieve this next.
Absolutely. It's the craziest thing. You spend $20, $50, or $70. You'll have to ask your kids what they're buying, okay? And then you have virtual sex with this girl, and then you kill her to get the money back. Well, out of 450 kids, 375 had the game, about 300 had sex with the prostitute, and about 200 had killed her. So I said to the kids, well, how many of you feel bad about it? 2 out of 200. So I'm at the school. The reason I wrote my book is it was the last day of the year, and I was exhausted. I just wanted to go home and never use the word human trafficking again. And I had this kid on the front row of a high school I was training at. This is my last presentation. And he was so proud of his GTA score. He was probably 13. So I said to him, I said, so did you do the deal? And he says, you mean the thing with the prostitute? And I said, yeah, you know. And he said, yeah. And I said, well, how do you feel about that? He said, what do you mean? I said, wait a minute here. You just told me you paid real money to have first-person experience virtual sex with this girl, and you killed her, right? Don't you feel bad? He goes, why? It's a game. It's what you got to do to win. I went home and wrote a book. I was just flabbergasted. But then I'm at the police department where I train, and I say to these 2 guys, I say, did you kill the cop? Oh, yeah, we backed up twice. We got him, they say. You know, and I go, you're in the police station. There are 2 cops behind you. And they go, yeah, it's just a game. And you see what's fascinating to me about this is that they will tell you, kids will tell you, that sex on the internet is not sex. And I'm saying, if it's not sex, how come you're so addicted to it?
And you paid
know?
real money for it.
Yeah, you're paying
As a
real
Christian,
money.
I have to say Jesus Christ would disagree with that statement.
Yes.
Well, it's a fascinating thing because they'll tell you sex is not sex and the killing is not killing. In fact, I did a survey at a large church in Southern California, and I said, so, what about sin? And they all 1/4 of the kids told me that sin on the internet is not sin because it's not real. And that's really what got my attention. This is why I say that the line comes to me that we're laying our children on the altar of other gods. Because everybody's going, yeah, but Mom, everybody's doing it. And I'm going, yeah, that's the way it was in the Bible too. Everybody was doing it. But we need parents and grandparents to stop and realize this is real. You see, what they're telling you is that because the decisions they make on the internet have no consequences, that it's okay. But in a previous segment, I think I told you, or maybe I didn't get a chance to tell you, in the child pornography segment, they have software now that intercepts every email going out in the top 75% of the web. And they have now intercepted more. They have an algorithm that's looking for the image of a naked child or abused child. And since they started doing this, they have intercepted 158 million images of naked children around the world. But 1/4 of them, 35 million of those images, are naked selfies that our kids are sending to each other. So what they're really telling you is that they get involved and they say, well, it's okay. When she sends hers, it's okay for me to send mine because the games we play have no consequences. But the minute you send that photo, the consequences get real in a hurry. And this is the reason why I want our parents to stop and think about this phenomena, because our kids are doing more and more of this online where they believe that all of this is some sort of fantasy and therefore it isn't real. And so they don't have to pay the price. But I'm going to tell you that if you're paying real money to have virtual sex, we need to have that conversation. I'd like to add one more thing because I think it's interesting. If you're in a normal Christian home, if a dad saw his son out there hanging out with a prostitute, he would go, hey, son, come talk with me. We don't do that, about your sister respecting women. They would have that conversation. That very same dad, because he is not engaged, will walk right past that kid and go, oh, he's on that thing again, and not acknowledge that his child is engaging with a prostitute in his own home.
Yeah.
Now, here's what you do about it. Dad, set with the son. If your kid already has this game, set with him. That, if your kid was playing soccer, you'd go, wouldn't you?
Sure.
But set with him and say, scared the socks off of him. Show me your avatar. Let him know you know the
Oh,
words.
yeah.
Okay. By the way, how'd you get all those points? Show me how you're getting these points. What's that uniform he's got on? What's that tattoo you bought him? What's that stand for? Hey, I want to talk to some of the people you're talking with, So let me work with you, rather than to just go no, and extract them. Set with them and begin to use that as a training model. Hey, I know I bought you that game. I know I did because I wanted you to be happy. But now that I'm starting to get educated, I want you and I to talk about who we are and what we stand for and what's honorable before God.
Yeah.
It's like the Bible tells us we need to train up our children in the way we should go, and we're allowing the internet and these games that they access through the internet to retrain them on issues of morality, sexuality, gender identity, even terrorism. Our conversation with Opal Singleton, the author of Seduced: The Grooming of America's Teenagers, continues next on Skywatch TV. Save nearly half off the cover price when you subscribe now to the brand new Skywatch TV magazine. For a limited time from April 24th through June 24th, 60 days only, a 5-year subscription to Skywatch TV magazine is just $99. That's more than $75 off the cover price, which is like getting 2 years for free. Exclusive content, articles on prophecy, discovery, and the supernatural from Tom Horn, Chris Putnam, Josh Peck, science updates from Sharon K. Gilbert, geopolitics from yours truly, and guest writers like Pulitzer Prize-nominated journalist Troy Anderson, renowned Bible scholar Dr. Michael Heiser, Pentagon advisor Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis, and more. But there is more. As an early subscriber, you'll be the first to get this new book from Defender Publishing. I predict what 12 global experts believe you'll see by 2025. This is a $20 value and includes best-selling authors like Joel Richardson, Mark Biltz, Carl Gallups, Tom Horn, Paul McGuire, and more. Find out what they think about the coming war between ISIS and the Vatican, the future of the Temple Mount and the Ark of the Covenant, a worldwide manifestation of angels, and the coming age of human hybrids. And we'll also add this DVD, The Best of Skywatch TV 2015, a $25 value, including our most compelling interviews from last year, including Chuck Missler, Steve Quayle, the discussion of the Georgia Guidestones with Chris Pinto, and more. All of this together worth more than $200, yours now for just $99, but only through June 24th. Subscribe now, Skywatch TV Magazine. Just call the number on your screen or log on to skywatchtvstore.com. This is Skywatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert in studio with Sharon Gilbert and our guest, Opal Singleton, the president and CEO of MillionKids.org. Please check the website, skywatchtv.com, because we post web-exclusive content, including several interviews with Opal Singleton. You'll find linked from the website. Again, log on to skywatchtv.com for that content. Opal, you've developed some programs for churches around the country to train them on how we can respond as people of faith to this issue. And this is an issue, I think, for many of us is one that we've let slip by us. Yeah. We are really unprepared for this. Talk about the programs and what the goals are and some practical steps that we can take to begin getting a handle on this.
Okay. Well, certainly there are two programs that I am really excited about, especially the latest one called Exploited. Let me first tell you about Grace, Hope, and Fatherhood. This is a program that's more of a curriculum for small groups, like women's groups, men's groups, churches, anybody who wants to get group training about this. It's done, actually my pastor did it. It's called Grace, Hope, and Fatherhood, and it has emphasis on the role of the male in the family and the role of the male in helping a girl know her worth, especially as being a chosen child of God. And so that is called Grace, Hope, and Fatherhood. It has 6 lessons in it. It has 6 videos that are all professionally done. And it has 6 discussion groups, and it's all based on lessons with Scripture. So that's called Grace, Hope, and Fatherhood, and you can go to Million Kids, and you just pay the money, and you can download it. And quite frankly, you know, we don't care if you keep sharing it with somebody. You can download it once and give it to everyone in your women's group. We're not going to care. Just keep forwarding it. It's a download. It's not something that we ship to you, but it's an excellent program to train a group of people. I also have a new project that I'm just over the moon about. I can't hardly wait. And this program is called Exploited Crimes Against Humanity. And in essence, it is a internet interactive training program. Now we're going to use Voice America, the Variety Channel radio, to be able to convey this. However, you don't have to listen live on it. You can if you want to. It starts May 26th at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. However, what we're really after is we're asking churches to link this program on their church website. First of all, it'll drive your members to your own website, okay, so that you'll see what's going on and be more likely to interact. But what I'm after is up-to-date training that your members can get. Because you may hear a lecture on human trafficking, but then you all go home. And quite frankly, these guys are really good. And these technologies are changing, these apps are changing, and like that.
So this will be an ongoing...
It'll be ongoing. It's a weekly program.
Because this is airing in June, so
it's starting May 26th.
Don't think you missed it.
Okay, no, it'll be ongoing every Thursday. It's actually live every Thursday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. in California time. However, what we want is for churches to contact millionkids.org and ask to link it, and there's no charge. You know, we just literally want to connect the world is what we're after here. The first segment will be all about, it's really for law enforcement, faith-based leaders, school officials, social workers, nurses, people that might be hands-on. And it'll be like IDTV, it'll be case analysis. Go look at this case, this is what, and we look at a case from the point of view of the law enforcement, the predator, and also the victim. It's all about never again. How do we fix this so never again another child? And so the more people that we can train on this, the better. The second section, and you can click on whatever is, if it's archived on your church website, you can click on whatever section you want. You don't have to listen to all of it. But the second section will be an ongoing of Seduced, where we look at the apps and we show you cases of how predators involved people. The third one will be all about gaming and child pornography. And the fourth one will be global. And we're asking churches to let their missionaries all around the world know this is on. Because this goes to 127 countries. So if you're sitting in Cambodia, you can on your own time get your own training in human trafficking. But more important, you can write back and tell us that, you know, I'm in Cambodia, this is what's happening with the government, blah, blah, blah. I'm in Croatia, and this is what we're seeing with the Syrian refugee crisis. Our world is in a state of flux like we haven't ever seen it. And so one of my goals of the Global is to build a Facebook page that brings all the countries of the world together with the latest information about what's happening in exploitation. With all the migration, the refugees, and the amount of trafficking taking place, I want it to be literally a global community that any of us can go to. This is why I want churches to archive it, because that information's theirs. It's right there. There's no charge for it, and they can all stay close and see what's happening, and it's a great resource for their members. So.
Good idea.
So that's called Exploited Crimes Against Humanity. And if you lose track of when and where it's going to be, just check us either on Me and Kids Facebook page. And that's, by the way, that's an excellent resource. We have the best Facebook girl, and she posts new cases of human trafficking about every 2 to 3 hours. That's how often. That often, yeah. If you go on Me and Kids, you will see, because it's happening at an epidemic proportion. You cannot believe the world I live in and how often this is happening. Yeah. This is why you see me so passionate about training parents and grandparents and faith-based leadership, because we must stop this. You know, if you've ever sat with a parent who's missing their child because she ran off with her newfound love, you know, and you just know what's happening to her. And so this is all part of what we do with Me and Kids, and that's where you'll see it. So.
Millionkids.org is the website of Opal Singleton and the group that she's working with to help combat human trafficking. It hits everywhere, even here in the Ozarks, a small community about 2 hours east of us. A young girl was found after being missing for more than a week in Cleveland, Ohio. We'd like you to have the book, Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers, and as always, we're offering a special package with it. In addition to buying the book, when you buy it from the Skywatch TV store, we will add Survive the Unthinkable, the ultimate guide to women's self-protection, and a beautiful diary, journal for mom or any woman really to just begin building a legacy for children, future generations. Record thoughts, dreams, and hopes. All together, these items are worth $50. You can get them from the Skywatch TV store, $29.99 plus shipping and handling. Call the number on your screen or log on to skywatchtvstore.com. Opal, I know we barely scratched the surface of the conversation here. We've got additional programs that we're putting together for online audience, and according, there'll also be an interview with Sharon. For
yes, and in fact, you're going to be in on that too.
Yes, we're going to switch chairs for that, for the Skywatch Women's program. We really appreciate your work. We thank you for making the trip out here to the Ozarks from California, and we pray for you and your group as parents of a beautiful,
absolutely gorgeous daughter.
We're just thankful every day that she's never endured what some of these young girls go through.
Amen.
For Sharon Gilbert, I'm Derek Gilbert. We thank you for watching as we keep watch. This is Skywatch TV.